Western philosophy of self. Let's start with Socrates. Now, Socrates is the first moral philosopher, one of the Greek philosophers. He's the son of Sophronicus and Phainarete, and he was a scholar, a teacher, and philosopher born in ancient Greece. So, according to Socrates, he wanted people to think for themselves. And he believes that to understand the self is to know thyself. Kailangan mo munang makilala ang iyong sarili. No? Yun ang kanyang paniniwala. He was sentenced to death. Pinainom siya ng poison para mamatay siya kasi maraming nagdi-disagree kay Socrates during his time. And he was famous for the Socratic method, that is to question everything, laid the groundwork for Western systems for logic and philosophy. If you remember that the Socratic method is similar with our game na Pinoy Henyo, now where you would ask several questions answerable by yes or no until you arrive at the correct answer. Galing yun kay Socrates. Okay. My forever kay Socrates. Why? According to Socrates, the self is made up of physical body, which is imperfect, and it's bound to earth, and it changes. And the self is also made up of a soul, which is perfect. This is unchanging. It goes on forever and holds a reason, and it transcends death. So, sabi ni Socrates, our soul lives forever. No? Kahit mawala na yung physical body, which is imperfect, andyan pa rin yung soul kahit tayo ay mamatay. So this is similar to the concept of the Hinduism. No? When the body dies, the self remains and it merges with the Brahma. So pareho sila ng sinasabi ni Socrates. Next we have Aristotle. Aristotle is the father of Western philosophy. According to him, he was he was a student of Plato. He was a towering figure in ancient Greek philosophy, and he was more empirically minded than Plato and Socrates. According to Aristotle, pag patay na yung body natin, patay na din yung soul. No, sa kanya, you cannot separate the mind and the body. So it's inseparable. When the body dies, when the body dies, the self dies daw. So, itong picture na ito, na nasa ibaba, no, hindi. This is wrong for Aristotle. Kasi wala nang soul kapag wala na yung body. Next, we have René Descartes. According to René Descartes, self is a thinking person. Mind is a substance within the brain capable of thinking. Self is the one that makes us aware to perceive the world. According to René Descartes, meron din siyang mind at saka body. No, the mind is a dynamic thinking being. There's no shape or substance and it's responsible for thoughts and our feelings. Yung body daw, parang vessel lang of the mind. Ibig sabihin, lalagyan lang siya ng mind natin. No? So, yung mind na yun yung self mo. No, if you think, if you're capable of thinking, therefore, you are yourself. Yung being na yun na walang shape at walang substance, which is your mind, that is yourself. Kasi yung famous line ni René Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Sino yung I am na yun? Ikaw yun. That's yourself. Next, we have David Hume. David Hume is a Scottish empiricist. According to him, self is nothing more than the mental perceptions which are available to our memory. And then, all perceptions of mind is divided into two distinct kinds. Meron tayong tinatawag na impression and ideas. According to David Hume, impressions are the basic senses that we experience. Lahat yun ng na-experience natin, no? Na galing sa labas, no? Basic senses. May nakita ka, may naamoy ka, may na-feel ka, um, naamoy, nakita, narinig, na-feel sa katawan, yun yung impressions. Na-experience natin lahat. Yung ideas daw ay copies lang ng impression. So, according to David Hume, wala tayong self because yung self natin is just an idea. And ideas are not real. Kasi ang totoo lang daw na meron sa mundo natin ay yung mga impressions, no? Yung mga galing sa labas. Ibig sabihin, may naamoy ka, ibig sabihin may nasunog. Ibig sabihin, naamoy mo ba yung self mo? Sabi niya, kaya gano'n, amoy mo ba? Nakita mo ba yung self mo? Parang ganyan yung sinasabi niya. So it's just an idea and ideas are not real. Next, we have John Locke. He is an English empirical philosopher. According to him, the self can be understood by examining one's mind. No, what constitutes the mind? The mind consists of memory where our consciousness, thought, experiences reside. So, nasan yung mga thoughts and experiences natin? Andun siya lahat sa mind. Sabi niya, self is a thinking, intelligent being, nag-iisip, that has a reason and reflection and continues to define one's personal identity. It can also be equated to a personal identity, no? Memory is necessary condition of personal identity. Yung matatandaan mo kung sino ka, kung ano yung self mo. So, yung sinasabi niya na consciousness that determines oneself that continues to grow and develop through times that form our personal identity, yung consciousness na yon, that is yourself. Meaning, if you're going to look, no, consciousness is the same person at different time and place. Yung consciousness mo nung bata ka, yung consciousness mo na halimbawa, nandun ka, nagpunta ka ng Cebu, nagpunta ka ng Manila, yung consciousness mo nung 5 years old ka, consciousness mo ng grade 6 ka, ng senior high school ka, it's the same person. And this consciousness is yourself. Next, we have Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud believes that the self has 3 layers, the id, the ego, and superego. The id, which works on the pleasure principle, is the seat of our passion, desires, and other instinctual drives. Next, we have the ego. The ego seeks to please the id and drives in realistic way. It is also the ego that regulates our action. Example, we can resist the urge of stealing money from others, but instead we work to earn money. The superego, which works on the morality principle, is the seat of what is right or wrong, as it reflects the internalization of cultural rules set by the guidance and influence of our parents. As an example, halimbawa gusto mong kumain, kaya lang nasa loob ka ng simbahan, di ba? Bawal. Sasabihin ni ego, mamaya ka na kumain pagkatapos ng misa. And then sasabihin ni superego, i-reason niya kasi kung tama or mali, hindi tama ang pagkain sa misa. Or another example, nasa restaurant ka, tapos nauuhaw ka, ang tagal dumating ng drinks mo. Kung si Ed kasi hindi na yan mag-iisip, tapos may nakita ka na drinks sa kabilang table, umalis na yung may-ari, siguro si Ed ang gagawin niya. Kung hindi niya matiis na uminom, kukunin niya yon. So si Ego, mag-i-intercept, sasabihin ni Ego, hintayin mo na lang yung drinks mo na in-order mo. Tapos sasabihin ni Super Ego, wag mong inumin yung drinks ng iba kasi masama yan, hindi yan sa'yo, tsaka baka mamaya magkasakit ka. So parang si Ed gusto niya agad-agad. Si Ego, imimediate niya yung gusto ni Ed. Tapos si Super Ego, siya yung nasa moral principle na sasabihin niya kung tama or mali. No? Parang konsensya rin. Last, we have the Psikolohiya Pilipino. No? How do we Filipinos define self? This is according to Virgilio Enriquez. The self in the Filipino is the unity of the self and others, expressed in the word kapwa. Yung kapwa natin, yun yung others natin. Enriquez points out that when a Filipino says the word kapwa, it shows the essence of sharing, seeing, and caring the other as oneself. Di ba parang we have a joke, no? Bigay tayo ng bigay sa kapwa, yung isang tao, gusto niya maging kapwa na siya. Kasi para siya yung tumanggap ng lahat ng sharing and caring ng mga ibang tao. Okay, this is also explained as like this, no? Ikaw yung kapwa, this is yourself, nasa right side, and then you have your kapwa. Ang sinasabi sa Filipino psychology, ang sarili mo at kapwa mo ay iisa. So, ibig sabihin, kapag nagbigay ka, natuwa yung taong yun, natuwa yung kapwa mo, ikaw rin, in turn, matutuwa ka kasi natuwa rin siya. But, it may also be the same. Halimbawa kung may nasabi kang masakit sa kapwa mo, may time din na pati ikaw ay masasaktan. Lalo na sa mga mahal natin sa buhay. So that would end the discussion of the philosophical self.